Greetings, John Corby here. After many years of restoring boats for other people, I want to do one for myself. And in this first episode, I buy a very rare Sparkman Stevens designed Contessa 38, bring it to Cowes and start taking it apart for what would be an extreme rebuild. The S&S Contessa 38, not to be confused with the David Allen Williams one which followed a few years later, is a rare boat. I think there are only ever 5 built and very few people are aware of them. Legend says that Nautil had started building the Swan 38 and claimed some sort of ownership to production S&S one-tonners in Europe, and somehow managed to stop Jeremy Rogers building any more. My one was the last one, and allegedly built in secret without Nautil knowing. It was also the most stripped out and with all internal panels constructed with aluminium honeycomb core. The reason I know all this is because I actually raced on it in the late 1970s with the original owner, Derek Boyer, who had previously had famous winning boats like Clarion and Clarionet, and he named his new boat Cyclone. Derek was a Commodore of the Iron Sailing Club, and his photo is on the wall upstairs. Okay, so why not buy back one of my own designs and do a job on that? For lots of reasons, really. For example, a point which I dare say other designers will sympathise with is that it's very hard to relax when you're racing on one of your own designs. However low-key the race might be, you're always sort of at work. And ironically, the less important the race, the greater the shame in not winning it. Next point would be that although I've built lots of boats for other people using high-tech materials, for a boat that I want to keep myself for maybe several years, I actually like the idea of single-skin GRP. I'd like to race in the growing number of classic regattas, which means a boat from the early 1970s or older. I'd like a boat between 35 and 40 foot long, but my racing budget doesn't extend to a modern boat of that size. And in fact, I'd say that an IRC of maybe less than 1.0 that is more my expenditure level. So if I'm going to buy a classic boat, it has to be good looking, and I don't think it gets any better than a design by Sparkman Stevens. Which gets us back to the Contessa 38, which I believe ticks all the necessary boxes. A few years ago, I actually tracked down Cyclone's owner and asked him to let me know if he ever wanted to sell. Earlier this year, he got in touch. At 51 years old, this boat can race in classic regattas. It's as out of date as ever going to be, so sort of timeless. It's GRP, so once the restoration is done, it should be relatively easy to maintain. And it's Sparkman and Stevens right at the end of their glory days, because a year later, Doug Peterson and Ron Holland would completely transform yacht design with their relatively flat bottom boats, and Sparkman Stevens would be effectively toast. Although we shouldn't forget the fact that they did actually go on to win 1 more Whitbread and 2 America's Cups. The last time I saw this boat, it was a full-on racing machine, the equivalent of what a Fast 40 is now. Since then, it has been bit by bit converted to a cruiser. My plan is to go full circle and convert it back to a full-on racer again. Let's say 90% racing and 10% cruising. Most of the control lines ran under the deck. The primary winches could be cross-linked, so 2 handles could wind the massive overlapping generators in. It was tiller steered. The list goes on. Down below, it might now look like a pound shop Swan, but it used to be very basic. There was nothing forward of the mast, totally open plan, with the heads positioned directly under the forehatch and loads of sails. The main halyard winch was in the saloon on the side of the mast. I seem to remember the saloon being generally white rather than varnished, and the galley far more basic. I think the chart table is original, but it was pipe cots aft and no companionway ladder.
Damage on any tow rails or anything like that?
No, but you see, I'd want to take the tow rails off ideally.
Pardon?
If I hadn't had so much work to do, I wouldn't be thinking about taking the tow rails off, but there's so much to do, I think, fucking, I might as well do everything.
This is a hell of a project, John.
I know, it's quite scary, but you know what? I think, like all these things, once you get the things apart and empty.
But by the way, you're not putting it back together again. You're stripping it and throwing it.
Oh yes, completely.
So you don't have to worry.
Oh no, all this is going on skip.
Not like Can-Can.
No. Well, this is Can-Can was way better than this.
Yeah, but even the problem still with Can-Can was actually.
Special mention for Andrew, who came back for the maiden trip, Bob for being on standby with his rib in case of engine failure, and Mike for filming us arriving in Cowes. The boat's full of stuff, but I want to know what's under the headlining. I want to know where all those tubes with the halyards go. How are they built in? Are they in the core? Are they visible on the under the headlining? I can't wait to find out. These are the motors for the electric primary wrenches. That nameplate's about the only part of the interior that's not going to get junked. Swan's managed to get an aft cabin into their version of this boat, but I just don't know how, because there's absolutely no space at the back here. The 38 horsepower beta seems to run really well, but I'm going to convert the V drive into sail drive and mount the whole thing further forward, like under the hatch. So onto the deck then. This is the, I think, life raft stowage. I'm going to convert this into interior space, an outside space. I'll deck it over and then cut it out on the inside. This is interesting. It's an added-in cockpit locker, non-original, and guess what? Opens up and, oh, all the way into the cabin. I cannot believe that is legal for offshore sailing. Main sheet track, I'm going to keep that, but probably somehow get the controls aft. Those aft winches, they're fine. I'll keep those. The steering wheel is all going to go back to original tiller. And the life raft stowage right at the back there, and there's a gas locker that's awful. That's going. That's actually cockpit that's been filled in. Yeah, lots of fitting. Oh, these turning blocks would do something with those. I don't know what, but I quite like them. Heavy, but they stay. Love the instruments just under the hatch. So cool. Originally, the boat had cross-link winches. You turn one, the other one would move with a button. Oh, the halyards all run in tubes underneath the deck. It's very, very cool. There were no clutches when this boat was built, so every rope had its own winch. Yeah, I'm going to redo that actually. I'm going to add lots of winches again. There's spinnaker poles, very cool stowage. They stow into tubes that go right into the coaming. So those tubes have their own drains, which suits me because I'm going to have extra long poles on this boat. Yeah, some wooden grab rail thing. Then halyard sheaves around the bottom of the mast. It's rather lovely, this thing. It does the job really well. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to take it off and refurbish it. I do later find that I'm less keen on it when I realise how much it weighs. But anyway, we're going to keep that. Full hatch, it's all right, but I'd probably replace it. Baby stay track, don't need that. Anchor lock has been added. That's awful. And there's the tubes that the guys coming out. Check this anchor locker out. I mean, it's just hideous. And that's the winch. There's the motor on the winch. That's going. I don't need an anchor winch on this boat. But there's the ropes going through tubes. I've got to when I rebuild all this, I'm going to have to put these tubes back in. That's okay. And the balls is likely to be rotten all the way around that opening. Just awful. Yuck. There's the tiller in approximately the position it's going to be in. Quite looking forward to that. It seems to be really fashionable to cut the skegs, or half the skeg off boats like this these days. I'm not convinced that I'm going to do that yet, but whatever. It's going to be a new rudder half the weight, of course. I can make that. All those holes in the back, I don't want that. I can't sail around with that. One of them would be exhaust to keep that, but the others are going to have to find a way of doing something different. The P bracket, that sort of sticks out, goes on there. I don't like that. I'm pretty sure I'm going to convert to sail drive, which I like sail drives. Aft keel bolt, that's going to need attention. There's a little gap there. The bottom of the keel, right old mess. But we do that. That's all right. There's a lot of paint on this boat. I mean, huge amounts. I can see us. I think we just get the shot blasters in. Otherwise, you'd be sanding for a long time to get rid of it. And the bow thruster. I mean, I know it's really lovely to parking and marinas and things, but I can't you can't race a boat like this with a bow thruster. I mean, not this sort of boat anyway. The topsides look really shiny in that, but they're not. Okay, more skin fittings. That's the heads. In fact, I see there's a compost heads in this boat right now. I'll put a proper Jabsco in. And yeah, just that rudder. I think it might just make one that looks like that, but it'd be half the weight. The keel is definitely a lot smaller in area than the Swan 38. I presume it's the same weight. Don't really quite understand that yet. The boat came with a lot of stuff in it. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, A lot of it's good stuff, but a lot of it I don't want. And the whole afternoon getting rid of that. The stuff in the vans, the stuff I'm keeping, and the stuff still on the ground under the boat, stuff I'm getting rid of. Okay, gas locker. This is actually part of the cockpit. It's been sort of filled in to create this gas locker. I'm not entirely happy with this. It's only a matter of time before the grinder came out, and this seems an appropriate moment. Okay, with the interior clear, it's pretty easy to see, to move around. There's the bow thruster we found right at the front there. It's got its own battery. But everything's going in the front. It's just going to be a loo and sail handling. The sloop's sort of roughly the right shape, but I'm still going to rebuild it. Then aft, how do I get an owner's cabin into that area? I know Swan did it. The ceiling. I've been fascinated about how the tubes go through, are incorporated. It's one-handed grinding at the moment because I've got the other hand with the iPhone in it doing the filming. I'm going to get something that supports the phone around my neck. Don't worry. As far as I can see, there's two layers of headlining. There's the original moulded one, and then because over the years that's needed holes cut in it to get to fittings and things, there's been plywood over the top of that. It's all coming out, and I'll do something new. Don't know what. Oh, chop strand mat. That's interesting. It's got neither resin nor water in it. Wow. That's actually the remains of an aluminium honeycomb core panel, which has been taken out at some stage. The halyard tubes are clearly visible now, but they've got all this sort of foam stuff shoved in between. In the next exciting episode, Craig destroys the galley, Roger and Lisa get deck gear off, and I wiggle the rudder.